Saying they're anxious about the economy. Why are they saying that?
I don't know that they are saying. I think polls are fake. We have the greatest economy we've ever had.
And joining us now is Democratic Congressman James Walkinshaw of Virginia.
Congressman, thank you so much for being here. When you hear something like that, the economy is the strongest we ever had from the president, well, that's not true because the DMV, this area where we live, is now in a recession. A lot of it because of the policies of the administration coming in here with just a chainsaw and firing people. This has been a very painful government shutdown for a lot of people in the area. What are your constituents saying about this deal that has come about? Obviously, Tim Kaine is for it in Virginia, but also the disconnect from what the president is saying versus what people are feeling.
Yeah, look, first of all, the shutdown, I mean, the way people in Northern Virginia and Virginia, I think the election results we saw recently demonstrated this. The shutdown was an exclamation mark on 10 months of Donald Trump attacking Virginia jobs, and Virginia's economy. And when I was sworn into Congress 2 months ago, I told my colleagues, including the Republicans, what's true now in Virginia, that every one of us knows somebody who's lost their job because of Donald Trump, will soon be true across the country if his policies continue. And I think that's what we're seeing. He just doesn't care. He's out of touch and he doesn't care.
I think one of the things that this shutdown fight has exposed or reminded us is that you're playing on an asymmetric field because the person you are theoretically negotiating with does not care about inflicting maximum pain on Americans. We've seen that certainly in the back and forth over SNAP. If you're willing to allow 42 million Americans to go hungry, then you have told us that there is no line you are unwilling to cross. Given that reality, and given that we have now seen Dems say, okay, enough here, right? At least 8 Democrats in the Senate. What does that mean for future negotiations if he knows once he inflicts maximum pain that Democrats are going to say, this is too much pain for my constituents. It's not in the best interests of the United States, and we fold?
Well, look, I think any political leader who goes about inflicting pain on the people they represent will ultimately be punished at the ballot box by those people. And we saw that in Virginia. And, you know, I've spent the last year screaming about the fact that our governor, Glenn Youngkin, refused to stand up for Virginians as Donald Trump was attacking us. And I told him, I said, the voters are going to punish this. And the voters in Virginia punished it last Tuesday. So I think the answer to your question is we've got to continue to tell the story of the pain Donald Trump's inflicting on people, the fact that he's more focused on the price of Greenland than the price of groceries. He's building golden bathrooms while kids are going to bed hungry because he's taken away their food benefits and SNAP, and we got to take that to the voters if he continues in this way.
I mean, it is, when I watch these clips from the interview that the president did with Laura Ingraham last night, and then I juxtapose it with this from Scott Bessent today on Morning Joe, it sounds eerily familiar. Take a listen.
Even this morning, you had 2 people come on and say, well, I look at the price at the pump and I know costs are up. Well, gasoline's down. So that is a con job. And I think that's what's frustrating.
So you don't believe that all the people who went to vote last Tuesday on the issue of affordability, my rent's too high, I can't afford to buy a house, groceries are too expensive, you think they're just misperceiving what's happening in their lives?
I think that that we inherited an affordability crisis. We have slowed the price increases down, and they are going to continue to slow down, and that real working class wages will go up, and that will address the affordability issue.
You know what? When I worked in the White House in the first year, that is when the inflation concerns really spiked. And I walked out of a meeting once where, in that meeting, the very smart people at the National Economic Council said, well, this is what's called transitory inflation, and those are the points. And I was just like, I don't know. I walked out of the meeting and went to my office, and I talked to the vice president's economic person. I said, have you been to the grocery store? Because the inflation doesn't seem transitory to me. I don't know if people are going to buy this one. That is what this sounds like. They are talking in very economic technical terms, and sure, gas is down on average from this time last year, but everything else is up. Sure, the stock market is doing great. Yes, the wealthiest people in this country, they're doing quite well. The top 20%, they are fueling the spending. But for everyone else, it is tight out there, and you cannot spin away people's lived reality. Are you buying these arguments?
No, look, and I live exactly 1 mile outside of the Beltway, so I can say this. There is a Beltway bubble, right? And it does happen that folks in the White House especially can get trapped in that Beltway bubble. And I think the Trump administration is deep, deep in that bubble right now. I met with a constituent of mine last week of Virginia, and he's 25 years old. His name is Jack. He and his wife are expecting a baby at the end of this month, their first baby.
Congrats, Jack.
It is amazing, exciting, but their health insurance premiums are set to double next year, from $800 a month to $1,600 a month. And they can't afford it. They don't have an extra $800 a month. So Jack's not going to have health insurance next year, so his wife and their baby will. He's eating Campbell's soup for dinner so his wife can afford healthy meals because grocery prices are up. Those are the decisions that Americans are facing while Donald Trump's building a golden ballroom for him and his fat cat buddies to have parties. That's what's happening right now.
Let's talk about that for a little bit, because there's obviously a lot of consternation now in the House Democratic Caucus about this agreement that was reached in the Senate. They're having the Rules Committee right now. A lot of people saying they want to vote against it. But I was taken back to a poll done over the summer by Donald Trump's personal pollster. I want to put this up on the screen, okay, where he says, Fabrizio sounds the alarm on the ACA tax premiums. While the 2024 outcome for these districts was even, the generic Republican is down 3 points among all registered voters, among those most motivated to vote. An early indication of the vote likelihood in the midterms. The Republican is down 7 points. If the Republican candidate lets the premium tax credit expire, the Republican trails the Democrat by 15 points. There is broad bipartisan support for the tax credit and their extension. That is from Donald Trump's favorite pollster. So, Congressman, you see something like that. This deal will keep this issue very much alive ahead of the midterms. There is absolutely a lot of people who are going to suffer because of it. You mentioned just Jack. But this is politically very damaging for the Republicans.
It's a huge problem for them. And, you know, you see now increasingly Republicans in Congress really scrambling. All of a sudden, they're trying to come up with their ideas to solve the health care affordability crisis. They don't have any good ideas. When they start working on their ideas to address health care, they come up with new and creative ways to take more health care away from more hardworking people. But there are some of them in swing districts who know this is a very serious issue that they got to figure out a way to address. The problem is Donald Trump doesn't want to address it. Hardliners in the House and Senate don't want to address it. And they haven't been able to get it done. And they've had, by the way, this is an issue that just came up during the shutdown, right? Democrats have been talking about this all year. The Republicans blocked bills in the Senate multiple times to address this issue. They haven't wanted to do it. I don't know if that'll change over the course of next year, but Democrats in Congress, especially House Democrats, are going to keep fighting for it.
Speaking of polling and focus group, I think a cousin of affordability and cost of living is this question of, do you understand my life? Do you understand the pain points in my life? And are you going to fight for me? Which is why I was very confused by what the president had to say about air traffic controllers who are currently not going to work, calling out sick, in part because they need to find other ways to make money and feed their families. He said of them, all caps, I am not happy with you. You didn't step up to help the USA against the all caps fake Democrat attack that was only meant to hurt our country. So, like, put all that crazy partisan language aside. You have reporting from the New York Times. These folks are doing odd jobs. They're doing DoorDash. And just, to me, I know I shouldn't be surprised at this point, but the inability to say, like, hey, I see you. And I see how hard this is for you. And I sympathize. That, to me, more than almost any policy, is the true Achilles heel.
I'll tell you, when I saw that, what it reminded me of is what my constituents and air traffic controllers are federal workers, right? Just like the 55,000 federal workers that I represent. And they have suffered incredible abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse, fired. Some of them fired, not able to get unemployment benefits because the Trump administration won't sign the form for them to get their unemployment benefits. That's what federal workers have faced. He's now turned his machine gun of abuse onto our air traffic controllers. It's outrageous and it's unacceptable. A lot of these folks are making $50,000 or $60,000 a year in small airports, busting their butts to keep people safe during this shutdown, and to have the President of the United States attacking them is absolutely outrageous.
Congressman James Walkinshaw of Virginia, this is a big night on Capitol Hill. Lots transpiring as we talk. Thank you so much for being with us. Yeah. Ahead, breaking new details on the swearing in of Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva. She's going to join us after a quick break, only on the weeknight.